We just thought it would be aggro, and now we're seeing Jades again. Like I said, Southeast Asia just likes Jade Druid.
Yes,
Just the way
they do.
But
No one seems to believe in aggro Druid, though. I genuinely think it's one of the strongest decks in the format, and no one seems to be bringing it so
Kranich
far.
doesn't, then you must be wrong.
Fair point.
Yeah, boys, Ivan Flock bringing the dreaded Quest Rogue
I thought we just might get away an entire
few more
day
matches.
without seeing it happen, but no. Ivan, you have ruined everything. Quest Rogue has come out to party, and Quest Rogue has drawn a Shadow Step. So hold on to your hats.
Here we go. But I know you've been looking at a lot of Quest Rogue recently in terms of just, understanding the deck, look at different variations. And do you want to explain the Battlefin Tidehunter version? It's a fairly new addition to the list.
Yeah, essentially, basically almost everyone has agreed on about 22 to 24 cards that go into the deck, and everyone's scrambling to find the last 6. Vanish has come in as almost core these days. Nearly everyone is playing Vanish. A lot of people then think if you're playing Vanish, you should play Wisps, because Wisps just play very nicely with Vanish. If you draw 2 Wisps...
They're good friends.
Yeah. If you draw 2 Wisps, you can just finish your quest on turn 6 with 1 Vanish, for example. Battlefin Tidehunter is just an anti-aggro tech, essentially. It is very, very good still against more resilient control decks that can sweep your board once or twice, because it's just a double refill.
It's 2 minions for one card,
it's a double refill late in the game, and you can bounce the main body of it and then get another 2 bodies back afterwards. But the main part, the reason why it's favored, is that it's just a 5/5 taunt that comes down against, say, Pirate Warrior, if you're able to rush the quest against them.
Okay, well, looking at Kranich, a deck we probably don't have to explain too much about is Jade Druid. And already he's off to a good start with calling Wild Growth into Wild Blossoms. Jade Blossom, sorry. Means that he is off to as good a start as he's realistically going to get versus this kind of Rogue. You just want the ramp to, Rogue kind of doesn't do anything till turn 5 or 6 when it activates the quest. Not, on average. So then you want to be so far ahead that even that doesn't matter, making all the minions 5/5s.
Just watching Ivan Flock here. Looks very comfortable and self-satisfied, which I believe is the standard pose of a Quest Rogue player.
Yeah. I completely agree. Smug, I think, is the word.
Well, I didn't want to go that far, because I'm sure he's a lovely guy. And
I'm sure he is too.
I don't want to characterize the guy purely through the fact that he's playing Quest Rogue right now.
But,
however,
he is playing Quest Rogue. Okay, so Earthen Scales we've seen used to actually create more beneficial trades early game sometimes, as opposed to just getting a gigantic amount of armor for 1 mana. And that's something we might see soon as well, because there's a flip side here, whereas you could potentially use it to trade off minions on the board and make the quest not as good early on, or later on it could actually just make you survive versus the quest, because you suddenly gain... What's really funny as well, I was about to say, like, about the Rogue quest, I don't normally do it in points of damage, it's how many hits I can take.
Yes.
So it's
correct.
like you can soak up like 2 hits from Rogue.
Right. That's actually the maths of when you're trying to defend it, is that you look for what Strife Crow calls breakpoints, and I really like that phrase, where your health is only relevant most of the time if it's in increments of 5, 10, 15, 20, or 1 above that, because they can dagger you as well. If you're at 17 or 18, you might as well be 1 or 2 lower. It doesn't really make a big difference, because it's chunks of 5 that hit you. So that is actually a very real thing when you're defending against this deck. It's a very real thing that you try to set up with your dagger charges as the attacker when you're playing the Quest Rogue. You want to use your dagger charges to push them into those 5 damage chunk ranges, but you also want to have dagger up as much as possible, because Southsea Deckhand, one of your biggest charge effects, is conditional on you having a dagger equipped.
Yeah. So it's going to be Aya for Kranich now, which is going to put a lot of power onto the board and also help with this Jade cycling. It might even get to the point where, Kranich actually just goes too fast for the Quest Rogue here and too big. So with Swipe and Wrath, it means he can do with a lot of the minions on the board going forward as well. So we do see that there's, because of the 2 Ignis Elementals, that there's 4 Flame Elementals just going to be available on demand. Vanish is huge. You were saying that Vanish is fantastic with Wisp, because you can just make the quest happen. You know what Vanish is good against as well? Just other people's decks, because they they do not appreciate playing their high-cost cards again and then refilling their own hand, right? Rogue doesn't care, because all the cards are low cost.
Yes. The small downside or slightly medium-sized downside of doing it against Jade Druid is that you ramp their Jades for them. They don't have to draw more Jade cards to get there. So Ivan Flock can, if he wants here, deal with the Jade Spirit first. I like this. Now he can Shadow Step one of these and prep the Vanish if he wants to, although it looks like he's going to do that on a following turn. And yeah, he's... wait, did he go for the prep here? Why is he going for the prep now?
Prepping the quest.
He's just going to prep the quest right now and get the 5/5. Fair enough.
Yep.
Interesting.
And you know what? Interesting is the correct word. Although the way we talk about Quest Rogue seems very, very dumb to a certain extent, there are certain things, like this, for example, like, is that correct versus doing the Vanish next turn and then building into it like that?
Right.
You want to prep it out now? You know, there are points in the deck that aren't as straightforward as they seem.
Yes. So doing it the other way, you give your opponent the chance to reload anyway. You could have killed the Jade Spirit before you vanished, so that wouldn't have been the cheap option. But you would have given them Aya back, which would have summoned a 4/4 and death rattled into a 5/5 at that point, I think, if I'm keeping track correctly. So you could have set yourself up to quest with tempo the next turn. All your opponent gets to do in the meantime is drop Aya alongside a 4/4. So you're actually kind of right back in the same position. It's actually pretty similar scenarios either way as to which way around you do it.
And the benefit here as well is if Ivan Flock can actually clear off these Jade Spirits, then banishing the actual Jades isn't too bad because their mana is equal to their attack, which means that they can they're actually going to be very, very slow to play onto the board. And Earthen Scales looks like it's coming down now to create a 6/6 and gain 6 armor. Interesting.
Well, 6/6 is a nice size to have, is all I'm going to say about that.
5/5.
Right, there's no dagger up right now as well, and in turns like this, these are the really crucial turns for Quest Rogue. There are turns in the early game where they don't do much. There are turns in the late game, if they get there, where they're just so dominant that they slow play so hard. Like, they have 7 cards in hand, they play 2 of them.
Yeah,
That's already good enough. These are the turns around this point, turns 4, 5, 6, 7, where they really have to scramble and do everything as efficiently as possible. Yeah. So it's not a turn where Ivan Flock is likely to want to dagger up too much. He's going to want to be committing a lot of mana, and that means having that 6/6 there to value trade potentially is of very high value to Kranich in South Korea.
Yeah, and here's the power of the Biofin. Basically got a taunt onto the board as a 5/5. Ferryman is back, and now the choice here for Ivan Flock is he can go Flame Elemental this turn. It's just a 5/5. The mana doesn't matter too much at the moment. It doesn't mean he can't vanish and play the Flame Elemental next turn, which might be the plan. But also, he could have actually just played the Biofin and guaranteed another Ferryman next turn if he held onto it.
Right. I like going over, just pushing as hard as you can here. You know, the concern for Ivan Flock was that he has another Ferryman in hand, so he doesn't want to expose that Biofin to the risk of it getting traded out on the board, because that's about his only good Ferryman target available right now. The rest just don't really represent any value to bounce.
Yeah.
So he was thinking about whether he should hold it back and then play it again and bounce it again on the next turn. Kranich has a Starfire in his Jade Druid. Random aside. But yeah, in the end, he just decided that, hey, I've got 2 5/5 taunts in the way. There's a good chance it lives anyway. And actually, Jade Druid is probably the one and only deck that I can't just play for time against. Because actually, once your minions are 5/5s, you can actually outlast pretty much every other deck in the game. Not Jade Druid, though.
So this draw's going to be pretty important here. It's going to be a Brew Master, which means, you know, Ivan Flock can actually just completely regenerate the board here.
Yeah.
He can play all the attacks in, dagger off the 6/1, and then go into Brewmaster, replay, and then still have the Ferryman next turn as well.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to do the Ferryman this. Oh. Okay. Oh, he's going to play them both. Okay, sure. I know he's going to hold on to one. Yeah, you generally want to play the Ferryman first because it requires a... what's he going to bounce down? Oh, he's not going to play it. Interesting.
He's going to hold it back. So
yeah,
in this
normally
world,
you want to play the Ferryman because it requires a combo, whereas Brewmaster just always works.
Yeah, I completely agree with the line that you went down there, but, you know, Ivan Flock decided that these 4 5/5s were just good enough, and he's going to keep the guaranteed bounce of Biofin and Gadgetzan Ferryman in his hand for next turn. If that's the case, the fact Gadgetzan Ferryman needs a combo doesn't matter, because he's going to combo it every time anyway.
Yeah. Okay, well, Starfire is going to be played to remove one of these 5/5s. Jade Behemoth creates a 6/6, which means he can kill one more, but is it enough? There is just Vanish. Primordial Drake can help, but doesn't... Oh, Primordial Drake into swipe actually helps out quite a lot in the following turns.
If you don't die in the meantime, it really depends how much power your opponent's able to develop that doesn't die to the Primordial Drake, because it tanks 2 attacks from Quest Rogue despite having 8 health. But just trading out the Jade Behemoth here, it's a little bit awkward because he has not hit a single charge minion from his deck yet, nor has he hit Glacial Shards, which are also almost equally as important in these kind of late game situations where you're trying to get that final dominance over the board. So he's not... I'm not going to feel too sorry for him because he drew...
Playing Quest Rogue?
Well, that, and because he drew an incredibly powerful opening that completed the quest incredibly quickly. Not only that, he could have completed it in multiple ways very early. That's how flexible his draw was. He had the Igneous, he drew 3 bounces, and he drew the Prep Vanish as well. So he could have completed his quest in a wide variety of different methods. But since then, he's actually been a little bit unlucky in terms of the minions that he's drawn.
Yeah. Although, this is a big ask for Kranich here to try and win this game at this point. This is a very, very tough. With now 5 minions, that's 25 damage represented on board. 1 is cleared off by the Jade, but there's just options. The Biofin is still not dead because it's back in hand again, just generating these additional taunt tokens as 5/5s. It seems kind of powerful. I'm getting convinced by his Biofin list. Oh, I say not even particularly the list, just the card.
I really like Biofin. I'm not 100% sold on Wisps. I've definitely had it bail me out of a couple of situations where the quest was too slow. Because I've had to force myself to play this deck to be able to cast it. I don't enjoy it too much, but it's looking like one of the most powerful decks in the format. So need to get the job done somehow. But yeah, I really have enjoyed the Biofin Tidehunter. I think it's an excellent inclusion in the deck.
Yeah, and we see that Kranich had to skip the Jade Idol that turn to go away from the break point, as you said, as he would have took guaranteed 6 damage. But with the final charge minion coming down the board, Patches coming out on turn 9, something we don't really see too often, the game is going to end, and Kranich is going to lose to Ivan Flock's Quest Rogue. And that was, as always... God, you can't teach that. So we do see the game 2 of Slovakia versus South Korea. Nature Lord versus Handsome Guy. And it is going to be the full team versus the full team, of course, in terms of communication. Because you can see Handsome Guy hanging out with Flurry on what we can see as our right and Dione on our left.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah. I thought you were talking about sides of the screen. I was like, wait, where is it on our right?
Yeah,
see
of
what
the
you're saying.
camera.
Yeah, Slovakia will still be in communication, but over whatever voice over IP program they prefer. So full 4-on-4 format. Everyone is allowed to input into everybody's games, as Handsome Guy just appears to be losing some of his dinner.
Yeah, Flurry there just sneaking in. Whilst Handsome Guy's working on the mulligan, he just sneaks in with the chopsticks. Yoink. Got him. Can't blame him. Grab some for me, Flurry.
But Taunt Warrior versus the Dragon Priest. Dragon Priest, the issue they have in this matchup, now that they've lost basically all of their early and mid-game minions, is that they can't really pressure as well as they used to. Dragon Priest was a very effective deck against this style of deck. Let's kind of look at Reno Mage maybe as like a relative surrogate, just extreme late game, control you out of the game, explosive win condition past turn 10 or beyond. They used to be able to get early pressure through, but then if the early pressure didn't work out, they could fall back on nearly unlimited value to just outlast the control deck. Now they can still do one of those things, which is generate nearly infinite value. They don't really get the pressure going too well, and that's the big difference now. Why this deck is still, in my opinion, a little bit weaker than it used to be, although much like Freeze Mage, Dragon Priest is a deck everyone predicted would be absolutely dead and buried, but it's still alive and kicking.
Yeah, and we've seen multiple, slight variations, but overall the list looks very, very similar. And when you're rocking teams, for example, Russia, South Korea bringing Dragon Priest to the game, then yes, the list is actually still pretty good, guys, and can get some work done indeed. But the sheer consistency of Control Warrior / Quest Warrior has actually surprised me. I know the deck is good, and I know we've seen some players with some great results, like Show, for example, on ladder. But the just amount of people bringing it is insane. The amount of people picking it as well, even when it's probably expected to be picked.
This deck's so strong. I don't know why that surprises you. This deck is just immensely powerful. It's the nature of the quests, kind of in the way they were designed in terms of do X, Y times, is that, depending on where the number falls, the deck is either just going to be really, really good if that number is a number that you can achieve, or really, really bad if it's a number that you can't, right?
One step too far, right?
The plus side of doing it that way is that you can fairly easily adjust that on the fly just by printing more cards that synergize with it in future expansions, or if you're going to balance them, it's a simple matter of adjusting the numbers one way or the other. But the way it's panned out, there's maybe 2.5 quests which have shown to be powerful, which is Warrior, Rogue, and maybe Mage is the half one. And then the other ones just don't see play at all because the numbers are just probably 1 too high. Suddenly, if you made them 1 too low, they're probably just going to be absolutely broken, those. So it's a difficult world to go into.
My petition for the Hunter quest to be made 1 lower starts now. Get the petition up on Reddit or something and get those signatures in. But yeah, already, what is that, 2 taunts into the game already. Now, Cornered Sentry is going to be a nice cheap tool. We've talked a lot about cheap taunts being available for the Control Warrior and how effective they are in just slipping into some turns.
Yep, and this lets him go 2+3 on 5, and he's going to go all the way up to 4 taunts already. His hand is running dry in terms of taunts that he will want to be playing anytime in the near future, though. If he goes Tar Creeper and Cornered Sentry here, there will be all those 1/1s on the board, but he has 2 fantastic minions for interacting with 1/1s, but now having drawn that Ravaging Ghoul and having no taunt follow-up in his hand for the next turn anyway, he's decided I might as well just play Sentry next turn and then clear the 1/1s immediately with the Ravaging Ghoul, since I have no other play I want to make that turn anyway.
Yeah, and also the extra damage onto the taunts doesn't change really anything against Dragon Priest, at least. If it was the sort of Spell Priest, then suddenly Orchidai Circle does something. But generally, it's just Dragonfire Potion and a Holy Nova in the deck, so be too bad. At least the Trailblazer, one of my favorite cards from the new expansion, being played now. It's kind of just a good card.
Card's just sweet. It's such a cool idea. It's such an exciting animation. It's it's just so well done in terms of, hey, what do people really like about Hearthstone? They like the feeling of opening packs and seeing what's inside them. Well, now we've put packs inside your Hearthstone so you can pack while you Hearthstone.
Packception, I love it. And yeah, and just the card, and I just love the fact that the card is good as opposed to the card being fun but built to just mess around with.
Sure.
Like a 5-mana 5/5 that gives you effectively 5 cards that are angled towards being very powerful.
Correct.
I'll put that in my deck.
Yes. And in Priest, of course, Shadow Visions is being played in almost every version of Priest under the sun. And once you have the pack in your deck, you're suddenly in a world where you can Shadow Visions an extra copy of the pack, and that's where the infinite value train really starts to go absolutely wild.
That's something I've not managed to do myself yet, but yeah.
You need to set that up, dude.
I've not played a lot of Priest.
Okay.
I played some Dragon Priest, but I don't think at the time the list was running Elise. I'm not sure, but still, I will make sure to give it a whirl at some point. So far, though, Slovakia taking it a little bit slow here.
Interesting. Looking like maybe now his plan is looking to hold on to that Cornered Sentry to maybe improve the odds of his Brawl in the future, because 3/1/1s hitting the board give a lot of bad Brawl outcomes for the opponent. But this is now a real slow play from Nature Lord, and it's allowing Handsome Guy to really fully swing this board state back with a Bookworm here, for example, just taking care of that Tar Creeper. But your Shadower Pain style effects, the Pains and Bookworms, are so high value in this matchup. There's Ali Armorsmith, there's Direhorn Hatchling, there's Bloodhoof Brave. Basically, every taunt they play up until Primordial Drake just gets sniped by a Pain effect.
Yeah, I actually would have no problem here just seeing the Draconid Operative come down, maybe even with the powered shield on the Elise, and just trade into the Tar, or all the other Tar on the board as well, because like, why not, right? You don't need to kill the Tar right now. And also, if the minion's a bit low on health, then fine, it might get cleared up by Sleep with the Fishes that we can see on screen now. But is it that much of a big deal? Probably not, in my opinion. Whereas sniping an Ali Armorsmith, yes. Like, I'm down with that. I do like this. And also, I wonder how backbreaking, depending on the board state, Dirty Rat, Cornered Sentry, and Brawl is going to be in one turn.
That's a lot of your own cards to just throw into the ether, but I guess they just do their job anyway in terms of ticking up the quest.
Well, they tick up the quest, and also the second you pull out the high-value dragon dudes from the priest, well, they kind of rely on having that synergy, right?
It's true. Yeah.
So if you pull 2 out, 2 of the minions in the hand, then obviously it looks less impressive now because the hand is so big for the priest. But a lot of the time, what do you do if you just completely pull them out of minions? They have nothing, and you have the Ragnaros help out.
It's fair. Fiery Warx is a good pickup this turn from Ivan Flock, able to take care at least of the Elise this turn, but just running out of steam a little bit. Having picked up that cornered sentry, can you remember what the other options were when he picked it? Were there high-value options? Because I feel like at the time he picked it because it was cheap and he could, fit it in quickly. Whereas since then he's kind of held back on it, but I don't remember whether there were more of the standard minions available up against it.
I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure none of them look good.
Okay.
None of them looked like, even Direhorn Hatchling, right, which is great value, none of them looked that good.
Right.
Even before Direhorn Hatchling was an offer now, I could see it coming. But yeah, I do like the Ghoul just to help clear off. Not too bad. There's the packs.
Well, time to get some cards out of our hand is the plan now for South Korea, because that pack cannot be played until the hand size is significantly smaller than this.
Yeah, that's the only issue with the pack, isn't it? That sometimes, I suppose you can argue when you've got hand size this big, you're in complete control of the game anyway. Not all the time, but you're in probably a good position that you don't need the pack. But sometimes you're like, ugh. Okay, I've got to just spam loads of cards out now and then play the pack, then get the value.
Yeah, there are situations you run into where, you're a long way behind on board, and the reason why you have a big hand is that you haven't really been able to do anything.
Yeah, sure, you could have a clunky hand.
Cards have just got stuck in your hand, and then, you play Elise, you draw the pack early, and you're really looking in that pack for answers because the rest of your hand has been so bad. That's about the only time it gets awkward, but... I do agree with you in theory. It's, if your hand size is too full to use the pack, then an embarrassment of riches is still riches at the end of the day.
Yeah. Look, this is not a bad turn. It seems pretty reasonable to me. The Potion of Madness as well is very good in this matchup. Just because of Bluetooth Brave, Ali Armorsmith as well. So there's a lot of options available that you can get some work done that you can't really, play around a lot of the time, and also can't really expect, for your opponent to use in that instance. Only 3.
Yeah, definitely has slowed down. There is the Shadow Visions drawn the turn after the Ungoro pack. This feels generally bad. But South Korea have more than enough value to be getting on with right now.
Yeah, imagine if Ungoro pack could open an Ungoro pack card.
Well, it can open Elise, and then Elise puts another Ungoro pack in your deck.
Rather clear, that's the play.
It happens. It happens more often than you expect as well, because the Ungoro pack itself is tilted towards legendaries. Yeah. Actually, legendaries in Ungoro, the number is quite low because it was tilted away from neutral legendaries towards class legendaries. So yeah, and it takes quests out of the equation. So the number of total legendaries that you can get offered is actually fairly low. So Elise happens fairly often. You actually get to go infinite with it on quite a few occasions.
Yeah, I've had King Mosh quite often as well, which is actually okay if you don't have to put it in your deck.
Pyro Coin King Mosh. Get him.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
So this game for Handsome Guy for Korea right now is just a matter of finding the right amount of pressure at any given time, right? Just developing a board that's enough pressure to be forcing Nature Lord to be making inefficient decisions, but not too much pressure that you're committing too much value to a big Sleep with the Fishes or Dirty Rat Brawl in this case. This could be huge. It is the operative that gets pulled, and you see the reaction from the Korean players there. Handsome Guy laughed it off, but Dione did not seem too happy about it coming out.
Yeah, it looks like this is going to be the turn.
Was the plan.
Suddenly, it's actually, although the minions are in favor of Korea in terms of volume, the actual favorable outcomes are in Slovakia's favor here.
Yes, the 2 minions on their side plus the 3 1/1s against. So there's 5 favorable outcomes for Nature Lord and 4 for Handsome Guy. So yeah, it's actually a very sensible long-term planning play from Nature Lord in the end. Didn't get the better end of it, but did pull the operative out, did destroy a lot of value with that one brawl. And like I said, the minions that he played did their job. They ticked the quest counter. That's basically what you want them to be doing.
Well, to be honest, do you expect much more from a Dirty Rat, apart from the pull which happened?
Right.
As a taunt minion, do you expect that much from Dirty Rat and Sentry? Like, effectively 2 Dirty Rats? Not a lot. South Korea, though, and Handsome Guy, they do have the ability to keep the Dragon Train rolling because there are 2 Nether Spites available. One obviously just played for the Twilight Drake, which then it's going to be played. Okay. Just needs to be careful that you can actually play the Nether Spite with the Bookworm in hand to keep it live, because he will need to snipe a taunt at some point, I imagine.
Sure. He has so much mana now that the turn when he is doing that, he can just play the Nether Spire Historian in the same turn if he needs to.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. You just need to like keep an eye on that interaction, because if you just throw them away, like this turn played Nether Spite and then played the Drake. If you do that again, then suddenly your Bookworm's not live.
Sure.
Second Brawl, though.
Well, it would be, right? You'd play Nether Spite, it would discover a dragon, put it back in your hand, and then you'd Bookworm and it would still be live.
Yeah, I meant because he played the one he discovered. If I did that, you know, if he wants like, oh, Dragonid Operative, play it, and it's like, oh, wait, it's not live. So just something to keep an eye on because of Bookworm's impact in this matchup.
Right. But, you know, I think before he starts discovering new cards right now, we're going to see that Ungoro pack cracked open sooner rather than later. I think the last 3 or 4 turns since the pack got drawn have basically just all been about, I'm going to develop a board. I'm going to develop a board and pressure you, and if you're going to deal with them, great. Those are answers that I was going to have to beat at some point this game, and it empties out my hand to be able to refill and get more value off this Ungoro pack.
And this is a huge pressure scenario. I wonder if Primordial Drake just gets dropped to stem the tide to a certain extent here. Yeah. Sleep with the Fishes is not going to be played. It's going to go for the execute on the Twilight Drake. Sleep with the Fishes didn't actually do anything other than kill the Nether Spite, and it might be more valuable a little bit later on. But I think this is just trying to bait Handsome Guy into more minions or trades or something awkward here, because Primordial Drake is very awkward to deal with for the Priest, and also you just want more value out of that Brawl to have any chance of surviving, because Sulfuris is so slow this game.
Yes. Still needs more cards out of his hand before this pack can get played, though. Alexstrasza Twilight Drake Scaled Nightmare. Saw an Execute get used. 1 Brawl has been used as well. Maybe Scaled Nightmare is just the hero we need, or is that insane?
I was just wondering if Alexstrasza is... He's on 27. You just get him.
That's a good point.
It's an 8-8. If it gets brawled, well, anything gets brawled. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
It's still an 8-8. Is Scaled Nightmare ever going to get to an 8-8? Takes 2 turns, right? Alexstrasza just does nearly 15 damage at this point. Like, I'm okay with that, because it's not like, you know, we've discussed earlier. Taunt Warrior, although depending on the build, you don't have a way to gain armor. So with the control of the board already, I would have liked to have seen it, but this does have the benefit of being able to play this turn.
Yes, I think, you know, 9 mana on Alexstrasza for an 8-8 is a little bit of a steep cost to pay when your hand is as packed full of value as South Korea's is right now. You know, it doesn't look like it, but Shadow Visions is a very high value card overall. Ungoro pack eventually is going to be cracked into some high value cards as well. And I just feel like Scaled Nightmare is exactly the kind of weird threat that can give Taunt Warrior problems when you've seen things like Execute being used already, because...
You have no, you're not supposed to deal with 1 extra minion, right? Especially one that big.
Right, and it, the reason I liked it here is that it's just a renewable source of clearing the Taunt minions over and over again, right? You can just trade into the low attack, high health Taunt minion that gets played, heal it back up. Do the same thing next turn. Eventually, if it's not answered, you're going to get into the position where it's just lethal, which, of course, Slovakia will have answers to that potentially, because they're not far away from that Sulfuris, so that will be a clean target for the 2-8 if they get that to line up particularly well. But all of that is fairly irrelevant in this position, since there is a second Brawl and a second Execute in hand for Nature Lord already, which is exactly the scenario that Handsome Guy would have been looking to avoid, having seen one of those cards be played each already.
Already, you know, this Ungoro pack is going to have to carry to a certain extent in this game, although, you know, the Brawl is available. Looks like the weapon's going to be used here. Hold on to the Execute. But yeah, to a certain extent, Shadow Visions is nice, but what's in the deck to Shadow Visions now? Fire Potion?
We're about to find out, because this turn is about to go ham. Potion of Madness steals the draw. Again, he's desperately just trying to get cards out of his hand. All his cards are so efficient in this deck They just continue to replace themselves. Potion of Madness is now going to replace itself by trading the Acolyte of Pain in.
Yeah, this is how like nutty even a single Radiant Elemental can be. Like, just reduce it. Look at this hand. 3/1 mana cards.
Here we go.
4 0 mana. 4 with the 0 mana one, of course. And here's the Ungodor pack. Let's see how lucky we are.
Golden
Vorax.
Legendary. Frozen Crusher Glimmer. Corrupting Mist, probably not going to be too good.
But the other one's good. The Shell Shifter.
Shell Shifter is just a 5/3 stealth and get 'em.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I like it. I know I started trying it out in...
Even Frozen Crusher's okay.
I mean, Frozen Crusher's just an 8/8, yeah.
Yeah, who cares if it freezes itself?
Right. The Brawl is going to be backbreaking here because there is a lot of resources being committed, and that was a snap pick on the Shadow Word Pain. But again, this is that kind of situation where it's the deck that's playing the aggressor saying to the opponent, if you have Brawl, you may brawl this board. I am okay with it. I'd rather you didn't, because if you don't, I win the game. But if you have Brawl, this is the amount of resources I'm willing to give you.
You know what I want to see from this Vorax? Shadow Word Pain. Just creates a 1/1 to be pained.
That's just cruel.
Well, it looks pretty cruel itself, so maybe it deserves it.
How many powered shields have been used? Because that's kind of a relevant thing with the Vorax.
I think 2?
Okay.
There was one definitely used on Elise. 100%.
Okay.
Maybe the second one wasn't used.
Interesting. As we mentioned earlier, my memory is appalling.
No, you can see Team Korea like, oh, okay. It's Priest of Feast to survive 2 brawls. This guy is an MMA master at this point. He's finally going to go down with a Vorax to the face. And now, no dragon to prop the Bookworm.
No.
But there's a Shadow Word Pain, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's going to be overdraw? No.
Yeah, we talked about the scenario, and he did end up with it in the end.
Yeah, it could have been really awkward,
The
right?
Bookworm being stuck in hand, but the Shadow Word Pain pickup, I think that's why you saw it as such a snap pick. A, he was roping at the time where he had to pick it, but B, he just wanted to have that clean answer while his Bookworm was not active. And there is still plenty of power left to be generated from Handsome Guy here. But now, this is almost his last push now, in terms of these cards that are in his hand, plus the next 1 or 2 that he draws over the few turns that he has, are going to have to get him there. And it's a pretty ragtag collection of dudes that are going to have to make it happen. When you're relying on the Vorax and Shell Shifter to make it happen.
The old Vorax and Shell Shifter push.
Yeah.
I know it well. Yeah, this is kind of scary, to be honest, because, you know, as you said, if this is cleared up one more time...
I guess he didn't want to be
probably
exposed to Sleep with the Fishes. I wanted to see 5/3 stealth and get him, but he went 3/5 in the end.
What else has he got left to proc the Sleep with the Fishes, though?
It's a good question. He's only used 1 ghoul, right? Would have had a second ghoul at least. And we haven't seen Whirlwind. Not everyone is running Whirlwind at this point. But the Whirlwind would be an option as well. Makes the 3/8 with the Talon Priest. If he was going to buff its health, then I would have liked to see the 5/3.
Why would he hero power first? Was that really needed? Because now he can't play Armor Smith.
He just wants to gain the 2, man. Just hanging on in there.
He would gain more from Armor Smith, though, right? He just saw a Pain.
He did. He knows that there is a never-ending supply of answers to Ali Armorsmith in this deck from Priest, though. There are so many of them, so maybe...
I just feel like you're taking the damage anyway, right?
Yeah. I think, you know, questionable plays from both sides. We can definitely talk about the fact this is a 3/5 or a 3/8 and not a 5/6, as it would be the other way around, and the fact that Ali Armorsmith is going to remain in hand now for Nature Lord. Both of those questionable from each side.
Very interesting. We'll see how it plays out, though. Dragonfire Potion not going to do too much. Here, Handsome Guy, and here's the Curious Glimmer. And the options are...
Spoilers, it's not the minion with Taunt.
Nice, Brass Knuckles.
They're really thinking about this one. Deep in the tank. Does my Control Warrior player play Execute in his deck? Thinking.
Yeah, it's literally one answer, right?
Yeah. Okay, all right, we got that.
That card genuinely confused me because I thought it just offered 3 cards, and it chose one that was in the deck, and you had to pick the right one. Do you know what I mean? Like, there could have been 2 cards in the deck, but that was choosing one. So
I have no idea what you're saying.
Okay, maybe even I don't. So say, for example, the Corner Sentry was in the deck. It picked Execute, as the winning card.
Oh, no.
And then there may have been a multiple one. I was like, oh, that can get really hard. I was like, oh, wait.
No, it can't.
No, it can't. Never mind. I've not seen anyone fail at Glimmerroot yet.
I have. Only for the first 2 days. I saw a few people fail against me as I was building stuff, and I saw a few people fail on streams as well. Bookworm is going to snipe that Ali Armor Smith in the end, but the one-turn delay is exactly what meant that Ali Armor Smith got sniped, because that dragon on the far right of the hand only just been drawn to activate the Bookworm.
Yeah, and Primordial Drake feels kind of weird here. It does proc sleep with the fishes, but then that's another turn that doesn't mean a hero power here. Got the Drake. Got the Bookworm, sorry.
Dione, clearly the most emotional member of the Korean team, reacting quite vociferously to every single action from Slovakia.
You Corruption, right?
Corrupting
Mist is going to get some work done.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not?
I mean,
Corrupting Mist and then play Drake.
Corrupting Mist and play Drake.
You could just Drake Execute, I guess.
You lose full health on your Drake. That way you could just Drake Execute and have a 4-8 anyway, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Corrupting Mist is a weird card. I thought it was going to be a little bit stronger than it was when I first saw it revealed. I think more to the point is like Control Warlock itself. Just
yeah, I was just about
strong.
to say like late game Warlocks. Well, Warlock in general actually. Have we seen like anyone play Warlock? I think we've seen Zoo. We saw Zoo last week, I think.
I was going to say today.
Yeah,
no, we haven't
no,
seen it
sorry. We saw Zoo last week.
Sure.
But like, no one really just plays Warlock at the moment,
right.
which is crazy. Because Warlock's just so atypically a strong class due to the hero power. But yeah, not seeing many Warlock players. We've seen the Blood Doom list, of course. But
what if? Hold on, bear with me here a second.
Okay.
You heal up your 3/1 back to a 3/3. You Primordial Drake and you pass, and then you execute the already injured 4/6 with tempo next turn.
Yeah, seems okay, I guess.
I got there, just like 2 seconds to spare.
Second.
2 seconds.
I'll be
All right,
playing around Slam.
Oh, unlucky. I like this play a lot, as evidenced by the fact that I also just about saw it. I think that was a very, very complicated turn with a lot of plays that were kind of just seemed like they were the play, but when you really dug down into it, you can kind of find the hidden line, if you like, which is setting up this weird kind of board state.
Yeah, I think some of the hardest plays to work out are the plays where there's tons of average plays.
Yes,
you know,
right,
there's not like tons of good plays,
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
not tons of bad plays. It's just all these plays like math, and you've got to try and work out which one's the least average, I guess. Sleep with the Fish is going to help make this a 50-50 on the minion.
There is just no reload in hand now for Handsome Guy and Korea. There's the Power Word Shield that we were talking about, but the Vorax has already been committed. Corrupting Mist face.
I like it. Just play it. I've not seen what it looks like.
It's pretty cool. I like it.
Is it mist that's corrupting?
Nailed it.
Does purple mist just come on the board? I'm guessing by the artwork.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, well, a big hero power pass. Both players not looking too great, but when Team Slovakia have their hero power of Die Insect, they're feeling pretty good about life.
And there's just, like, Korea just can't stop this if they're not going to draw minions. They had such a minion-heavy opening hand. They just can't get a minion to play.
Unfortunately, you know, Handsome Guy doesn't have a hero power that heals for 8.
You have to shield this and then paint it, right, as opposed to Dragonfire Potion, because you just need to draw some minions over the next turn or two.
How many minions do you have left?
I don't know. I mean, that will be the question that South Korea knows the answer to a little bit better than I do as to whether that's correct or not. But I feel like this thing has to get shielded unless you are A, very, very low on minions, or B, extremely close to fatigue. And just looking at the deck size, it doesn't look like they're extremely close to fatigue.
Yeah, I think Powered Shield needs to happen. You cannot just pass when your opponent's dealing 6 to you every turn, guaranteed.
Yes. But net 6 to you every turn.
Yes,
right?
that's yeah. 6 plus the minus 8 minus the hero power, should I say? So yeah, 6 total. It's hovering over that Powered Shield. I mean, you just cannot keep up, right? So it's the only play here to try and draw into something.
Hey!
Star Creeper of his own. My thanks. Well, it's not going to be too thankful now with a Shadow Word Pain flying in.
All right, so South Korea have Slovakia back on an 8-turn clock. Nailed it. Unfortunately, there's no world where that gets there because they can't take the hero power missing their 3/5 times. They just want to survive it.
Yeah,
that makes it all a formality anyway, and now Ali Armorsmith is going to come out for, I mean, you call it the punish for using the Shadow Word Pain, but I think that is just the correct play. They do have Corrupting Mist to fall back on, but Ali Armorsmith will get to attack at least once and give Nature Lord at least a little bit of security.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're even Corrupting Mist in this. I thought they would Dragonfire execute Radiant.
That's not bad.
I mean, just stops you taking 8 to the face, right? It's very difficult. I actually don't know what minions are left.
Right.
Unless they're running like Ysera, you know, as like super late game.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they have anything good enough to even win. I actually don't.
It's a very good question.
We've seen double operatives.
We've seen double operatives, unless one was discovered off a Historian, was it?
No, he picked Twilight Drake and...
The Scaled Nightmare.
Yes,
right.
Scaled Nightmare,
So we've seen both operatives. We've seen at least one Priest of the Feast. Did we see a second Priest of the Feast?
Yeah, there was 2 on board during the brawl.
That's right, there was. Yeah, so
That's what I mean. I don't know what he has left.
He's used the pack. We haven't seen Lyra yet. If Lyra isn't always included in Dragon Priest,
Lyra Corrupting Mist.
It's sometimes shoehorned in there, but I mean, maybe that's just a hope and dream that he has left. Pick up a couple of Mind Blasts off Lyra and get him.
So, okay. I was going to say, if he holds the Radiant, then we can get a good nod that Lyra is available.
Sure.
Because you might just say, okay, I'll take 8 this turn, but if I draw Lyra, then that's nuts. But maybe he's doing the same, but just saying, let me preemptively play the Radiant, which gives me more juice next turn with Lyra. Sounds weird, though, because it's going to be Lyra Corrupting Mist. 1 turn.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, let's not even tunnel on the idea that Lyra's there, because it's definitely not an automatic inclusion in Dragon Priest. It's the one Priest deck that you're not just slamming her in automatically, really, so...
I would.
Handsome Guy and Korea in general is on a wing and a prayer right now, and Nature Lord is drawing some useful options off the top on the turn so far. Going to choose to turn down the potential slam. Damage goes to face, so he's going to end up just slamming it anyway, but he gave himself the option to not be able to slam this turn and just clear out the 2-3 with the hero power instead. And how is an Acolyte of Pain to go along with your Ravaging Ghoul this turn?
Pretty fancy, and it clears off the Elemental as well. Whirlwind Sleep with the Fishes. Dirty Rat not going to be good at all. Wow.
It's 2 mana, 2/6. Seems solid.
Okay, so I'm going to do anything Dirty Ratty. You know what I mean.
Okay.
Corrupting Mist Dirty Rat?
That would be ambitious, yeah. You just Corrupting Mist first and then Dirty Rat. It does. I don't think it affects the other minion that comes out, right? It's literally on the board state as it exists.
I
when you
believe
play
so.
it.
Yeah. So you would probably Dirty Rat Corrupting Mist in that order. But yeah, definitely a tough one. Dragon Fire Potion.
Well, it was a 2 mana 2/6. Unfortunately, it's now a 2 mana 2/1. But
Hey, can we have 1 health or 8? Doesn't matter when the hero power is involved.
yeah. There's no reason to heal face here, right? Like, again, we spoke about the rogue breakpoints in 5. Healing yourself back up to 12 isn't going to get yourself above the next breakpoint, which is 16. So, seems reasonable just to heal up the minion, make it resistant to that Whirlwind in hand, for example.
Can guarantee 8 to face this turn as well. Could sleep with those fishes. I think that's fine, actually.
I think it's entirely reasonable.
You have 8 damage a turn. Why do you care about Curator?
You know your opponent has no minions in hand. Like, what are you going to sleep with the fishes? Yeah. You know exactly that they have been drawing and playing minions one by one from the top with no other value in their hand.
I did that 50-50 train
for the last 5 or 6 games. And now, Rag, Die Insect, put us out of our misery, please. The Fiery War Axe guarantees it. That was a slow procession for Nature Lord and Slovakia towards the victory. And for Handsome Guy and for Korea, I think they knew that game was over for the past 4 or 5 turns.
Hours.
Just played it out on the hope that something would happen.
And snipe the big guy, and then you're like, now I'm ahead for the rest of the game. But looking at this opening hand, it looks like a fairly standard Hunter list from Flurry and a almost PogChamp face from Sottle here as he looked at this Shameless Glacial Shard, Flame Tongue Tome, and Bloodlust. What is this telling us?
It's telling us that this is likely the deck based on the token list that our good friend and Hearthstone Championship Tour former competitor and now production assistant, I believe is his title, something along those lines, for the Hearthstone Championship Tour. Abar posted very early that he was doing well in High Legend with, which is a kind of token-based shaman. It's using the Primal Fin totem without any Murloc synergy, just to generate 1/1s and flood the board. It's using patches off South Sea Deckhand just to summon tokens onto the board, that kind of thing. And then that Bloodlust that gets played, no, I take it all back.
Good
I
old
take
Ellie
it all
Shaman
back.
with
I
Bloodlust.
got baited. This is just Elemental Shaman with Bloodlust. Glacial Shard is a card, just going back to the Token Shaman list, that I don't think was in it originally when Abar posted it, but it was something that people tried afterwards because it is really strong in those late game positions where you're trying to just stick 4 or 5 bodies to the board and then Bloodlust to end the game. But nope. I got massively debated, and it is just going to be good old Elemental Shaman, but with that surprise twist of a Bloodlust in there.
Yeah, so the only relevant thing in that opening statement was how cool Abar is, which is
Very much
completely
so.
okay.
That
with,
is
so
that is a
shout out to you,
lesson
Abar.
that you should all take away from this.
Yeah, Abar is awesome, but moving on to this game with a good, strong opening here for Flurry, as you mentioned earlier when we talk about Hunter. You want that hard opening as Hunter, right? You want your 1-drops into 2-drops into potential 3-drops, or into multiple 1-drops. And that means you can actually get ahead on board and try and stay ahead, which pretty much is the trick in this matchup.
Yep, and Razormaw is one of the very best cards in the game when it comes to, as you said, get ahead and stay ahead. That is basically what this card does in a nutshell. One of the most powerful cards in the entire expansion, for sure, no doubt in my mind.
Crafted these in Golden the other day. 1, Golden animation looks sick. 2, good card.
He looks like he's about to Shinku Adoken someone, is what he looks like.
Actually, so I got told he looks like he's getting electrocuted and he's like shaking.
Nah.
But actually I prefer this. This
Yeah.
is more like he's just gonna kind of just
He is just
Gonna make
harnessing the
something, but-
power of the Hado right now, ready to unleash that fat Shinku.
Sol knows lore about certain games, just not the game he casts for a living. But hey ho. There's a good amount of damage available on the board now, and Maelstrom's okay, but the fact that the Razormaw lives is huge.
Yes.
Right, you getting blown out one turn is a huge problem here for Hunter in general. Like I said at the start of the game, but Razormaw living means that now you can go into maybe Hyena Fiery Bat or Direwolf Alpha Fiery Bat or even just Bow and start piling on that pressure, depending on what the minion is that comes out here. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, okay, bit of a tit for tat going on there. Is there a world in which you never bow this, right? I actually just like oh, okay. I think they're being a bit quick with the bow there.
You looking at Bat Hyena trade or
Just Bat Hyena go.
Bat Hyena go face?
Yeah, get him. Okay, realistically, Flame Tongue, you lose the Hyena too, of course. So that's fine. But look, I like going face. Okay, it's all. But yeah, the bow is an interesting one because it never feels good to put a bow into a 1-1, but it does, develop a stronger tempo turn going forward anyway, and it leaves the Razormaw alive. But
I mean, it just sets up a great Houndmaster, right? In theory, is I think the thinking behind the play from Flurry is that you are protecting this minion on board, so you can just snowball even harder with Houndmaster in the future. And even if you don't get good Hyena value immediately here, you've got those Unleash in your deck, as we see have just been drawn to get value with them at some point anyway.
yeah, I was gonna say the Hyena play kind of depends on what's available in hand and what's in your deck as well. Because I've actually seen some lists that have Hyena and no Unleash.
Ooh. How much forward planning is this from South Korea? Because they know the discount elemental got played early on, which means they have just given the perfect on-curve Fire Ellie over to Slovakia here. Did that just leave their minds? Are they just so used to playing around Fire Elemental on 6 that they forgot it was a possibility on 5?
Maybe, but that was actually just a good turn. The second there isn't Fire Elemental, you might just win.
That's fair.
Do you not think? Like, that turn was
sure.
kind of insane. Especially with Houndmaster or Unleash the following turn.
Yeah.
Like, you could just win off the back of that if they don't have exactly Fire Elemental when they use the Elemental. Because it's only procs the ones that are in your hand, right? So there's a lot of what ifs in that scenario.
It's
and
true.
To go off the back of a Hyena sticking to the board, that would have been massive.
I guess the alternative play as well was Houndmaster and Trade, which would have just left a 4-3 and nothing else on the board, which is even worse against Fire Elemental because you don't even get to keep the Direwolf in that scenario. So I don't even think there was a realistic alternative. But hey, the hits keep on coming. Fire Elemental number 2 joins the party. Savannah Highmane can, in theory, challenge this board. But in theory is not where Hearthstone is played. Hearthstone is played on a beautiful game board where your opponent has the card Hex every single time.
Yeah, now there's 2. Yeah, this is the huge problem where if you're not ahead on board at this point in the game and you find yourself in a high main turn, if Hex comes down, you probably just lose. I actually think. I think, you know, not instantly, of course, but I feel like you lose so much that you could just lose the game straight up. There is an option.
I know, I was going to say, how bad is like just this and trade if you want to go long here?
Oh, do you even trade? You just Hex it next turn, right?
You can just Hex it next turn, yeah, and go
I like
face
Hexing
instead.
next turn.
Yeah, the potential downside there is if your opponent has another big play to follow up alongside this, and then you're
you just double Hex.
kind of, yeah, I guess that's
That's what I mean. Like, there's either Hex just on curve and don't let him get away with anything, or this, and then you just go into Hex. So I think this is fine. He can actually just trade and then Kalimos AoE next turn as well.
Yep. Perfectly reasonable.
Pretty nice. Yeah, this is tough. This is the weakness of Hunter. If it could battle back for board that well, then the class would just be too good.
Yes.
Because it snowballs so hard normally.
Yes.
But this is the weakness, right? Once you've lost the board, it is very, very difficult. There is no like good castable AoEs. There is Unleash the Hounds, but only deals 1, 2 if they're buffed once. Let's say if Misha was a Leon. But yeah, there's just no good way to clear a big board. No cards along the lines of Flame Strike, you know, Lightning Storm, for example, don't exist in Hunter, to be honest. So this is one of the moments where you can just lose the game straight up.
Never happy with the state of Hunter, Raven.
We should have Flame Strike for 5 mana.
They get some of the strongest cards in this entire expansion. And you're just complaining the quest isn't good enough. You're saying they need ways to fight back on the board.
How many strong cards did Hunter get, actually?
Razormaw. Razormaw. Are there any others that are being played? I'm not 100% sure. Better Tide Hydra?
I wonder.
Neutral. Sure. If everyone can play, it doesn't count.
Right. No, that's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad Hunter's playable, so I'm okay.
I mean, the best present that Hunter got in Journey to Ungoro is the fact that Totem Golem left the game.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
You can actually keep up with an early game from someone at this point. We do see number 1 Hex going down. Leads me to believe there's going to be a Hex number 2.
Yeah, just sequencing so that he can clear the board out here and just sending the damage to face as well, because this sets up... Well, this sets up lethal for the following turn.
I was joking. I know. Risky because the frog can get Houndmasted.
Right.
A pocket kill command.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a ton of damage.
This is a really, really clean lethal setup because he can now clear the Hex with a much lower attack minion, and then Kalimos face can end the game next turn.
Yeah. The flexibility of Kalimos knows no bounds. As you heal, build a board, damage to face, or AoE. Seems good in general. Unleash the Hounds is going to help. Play this up here. Do you... It's fine. You trade in, right, to the 4-2?
Do you?
Oh, okay.
This just prevents more damage overall, right? Because you force something really inefficient to go into the Hex Frog, in theory.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the worry that you don't get the opportunity to clear this minion going forward, which could be a problem. We can see Kalimos, I mean, just Kalimos AoE, right?
Yeah, if you're in a position where you never get the opportunity to kill this minion going forward,
you've lost anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You've got to be optimistic in a scenario like this because you need ways to fight yourself back onto the board.
And it pretty much happened as we said as well. You know, Flurry just lost the board once, dropped high main straight into a Hex. Well, straight into taunts then a Hex. But you know what I mean. Dropped the high main, couldn't continue to develop the board, and yeah, it looks like Slovakia just choosing to play super safe. Although sometimes playing this safe is unsafe.
Yeah, I don't think it is in this scenario. You know, the safe play plays around any absolute nonsense. Maybe let's live in a world where they top deck Stampede and then the perfect sequence of beasts somehow kills you. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, if they top deck, they're only on 1 card. There's no 1 card that wins. Right?
Well, Stampede is a lot of cards, is what I'm saying.
Not without another beast to be played.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay,
There's no singular one.